Hello, welcome to Code with Briley or Tech with Briley. In any case, we're going to be working on experiments with large language models, where we will try to build large language or generative AI applications using a tool called LangFlow. This is an experimental session. I don't have exactly a roadmap and plan, but I do have a basic idea. And essentially, LangFlow is a visual development environment. It's a graph-based interface that lets you drag blocks onto a canvas and connect them, and the blocks have certain types of outputs that connect to corresponding inputs. And you end up essentially with an agent, a chat interface on a Lang chain. But I think they're making Python based, and they're making it abstract so they can use LangChain or other sort of orchestration layers. And they're partnering with some interesting companies like Grok and DataStax. So I like this project. I like where it's headed. I like that it's based with Python and fairly well documented. There are improving on. But they've got a pretty active community, and it's a nice project to experiment with. And they're hosting webinars, which I've been sort of following along. So here's like the main LangFlow docs, and it consists of a bunch of components, and there are a few step-by-step guides. So I've got LangFlow running, and this current graph I'm trying to work on is to take any website of that website, split it into chunks of about 1,000 characters each with a little bit of overlap, and persist that in a local vector store using OpenAI vector embeddings. I'm going to try to get this working. I'm just now trying this Chroma vector store. We will call this so here's the document. Let's see what the document is. Epistles of George Fox, I believe. It's a big document, too big to fit in a single query to OpenAI. It's just too much context. So that's why we want to use vector store databases. So we're going to use the text embedding of the OpenAI key and work. I might want to start with a smaller document, but anyway, let's try it out. So it's first parsing the URL, then it's split the text. It's calling the embeddings. It's connected to the embedding server, and now it seems to be I just updated the LangFlow. It seems to be persisted. Okay, let's take a look. And I just have a project directory running. Doesn't look like any new file was created. So that's one thing. I'm not exactly sure what happened. One thing I can do if this works. we'll try running everything. So connecting, downloading the URL, building. Chroma built successfully. But how do I know? There it is, Chroma. So I don't see George Fox collection. Okay, there we go. Looks like embeddings too. That's pretty fast, and it's just running locally. Wow, really cool. All right, so we've got the whole document parsed already as embeddings, and so it supports multi-tenancy, embedding metadata, and embedding a full text search. Here we go, and here's the texts. So we can see the epistles of George Fox. It was just the first like 1,000 characters, and slices of that whole document. This is really nice because I'm looking at some options for these vector stores and the pricing, and it's not cost prohibitive, but if we can run an in-memory vector store based on SQLite, that could, you know, make a difference in a small project, getting your own project started. Excellent. Okay, so now what do you do with vectors, right? We can see them running here. We'll hop back over here, and so I'll just leave this collection alone. Well, remember our this collection. I'll leave this graph alone as project. Collection is also used here in Chroma, so it's a bit confusing. But if I go back to the main page, now we want to have a chat with these, and in this graph, I've set it up to chat with AstraDB, which is a nice. I've got it over here. DataStax AstraDB, a very nice vector store. Yeah, I recommend starting out with this, but I would like to try running with the ChromaDB. So I'm going to essentially just copy this. I'm going to upgrade some of these. I'll upgrade them in this one as well while I'm here. Chat, and let's see if we can. OpenAI is missing input. Okay. So was trying to get Wikipedia to work. It didn't quite work. So we need input to come to OpenAI. There we go. Now we can run the whole graph to see if we get any. If we get connected here to the AstraDB, and building the vertex asterisk, invalid inputs provided. So it's a bit confusing. And it doesn't say specifically which input is invalid. Is there a way I can get a little bit more debugging information? Anyways, what I'm going to do is duplicate this chat and use ChromaDB here just to see if it works. with Chroma. Search, or is it retriever search? I think it is. So we have an AstroDB search, yep. Chroma search. So I'll just bring it out and we will replace collection name of George Fox. We will take the input and the embedding from OpenAI, and we'll get the working directory again. Search type similarity. Context. User input is the see our prompt. I'll just show you this. We've got basically a system message, how to respond and guide the conversation back to the topic. We'll pass in the search results from the vector DB and then whatever the user is asking. So check that, looking good. And looks like our Chroma search needs to go into the context, and the user's input comes here. There we are. I think everything else is wired up. So we hop at the playground. Howdy, let's see. Okay, Chroma searching. Feedback. What I'm going to do is ask ChatGPT to help me decipher this. It's a big one. Primary error. The value error inputs provided in search vector store in line 44 in model pi. This indicates that the function search with vector store received invalid inputs. Cool. All right. Search with vector store and for validating its inputs. Input value, ensure that this is correctly formatted and expected by the function. Vector store, ensure that this is properly initialized and has a search method. Okay. So it's like an internal concern. Verify the input. So input value in a vector store. No. We're sending it input, but Chroma search is missing an embedding. All right, so we'll get Chroma search is missing input. Maybe I can just, so it's blue and this is pink. That could be indicative, but so this is receiving blue, and I'm just thinking the no, that won't work. Strangely, it says it should be able to input prompts. Oh, I see. There's no prompts change. SQL executor, pass, runnable executor, text operator, agent component. You can put helpers, combined text, memory component, records to test IgG. All right. So I'm trying to use an input. Aha, okay. That's that it doesn't accept inputs. For example, if Chroma search, just put something there, run it, we're good to go. So we'll accept chat input. So what I think is in this most recent release, what in the data stacks, the other search stopped working correctly. Vector search, vector storage, AstroDB. If I just bring this one out into input, that one takes a prompt for an input. I'm going to create an issue then. I believe this is a bug. It's not allowing chat input. What do they call them? Modules or components? It's not so much related, it's just the version of LangFlow, which LangFlow. No debug information there. Won't be able to provide that. Okay. So then all I'm left to do is kind of see, maybe if I change the search type. No. Well, one thing we can do is go to the source. So essentially, so they have inputs. Plural. Input. And the main difference in the code here is a text. If, let me try something. So we'll get a list of records. So from LangFlow schema. So this is nice that it's based on Python. I can try some stuff. That allows me to do the prompt. Almost. Huh. And just allow me to use the prompt. No, I'm sorry. I'm looking for user chat. Okay. So at least I can do a prompt though. If I want to be able to do chat input, why does chat input work here? Oh shoot. Let me go back here. So maybe, so this might not be a bug. So we get them into the thing. Look for the chat. Strangely, it doesn't list it there. For the same invalid inputs. This is weird because this was just working on the previous version of LangFlow. So something is broken. On the most recent version. Okay, so this is a regression has changed. And it's let because the graph was created pre the new version. But now if I try to make that connection, it lets me do it. Well, shoot. But it won't build. Or will it? No. Dang it. I've been working with this since before May 18th, so that's one weird thing. Okay. And I just upgraded it and somehow didn't install the latest. So let me double check here. Force reinstall. We'll end it here. Python m pip install LangFlow pre force reinstall. Cool. I hope that's just the problem. It's somehow been downgraded, LangChain to 0.2.1 and Python 3.2, and we're running to work as LangChain 0.6 work with. So something happened. I had messed up the environment when I started out. I don't know what exact command I ran, but all right, we're gonna fix this. The installation's kind of slow. I should have noticed this earlier. It went through a lot faster earlier. Has a lot of dependencies. I can close my bug report. So But that was good. It works. Input value text should be fine. Because it's outputting a text or a message, and then that can take message text. What did it downgrade to? LangFlow. One point. Powerful. So we'll run pip freeze again. Stayed the same. We'll run LangFlow again. LangChain on which oops, shoot. Wasn't paying attention. Yeah, one. Let's try. Unexpected token. What I could do is refresh, but I don't see why that would matter. Let me check the registry for LangFlow. Assume this alpha was made 5 hours ago. They're rapidly releasing these alphas. Even this 0.6 is probably fine, to be honest. You should probably freeze it there. Lesson learned. I just did the latest according to art. Yeah, the pre-release. Recommended for the latest updates, right? Yeah, I should think about that. I think this is what I actually did. I tried a version of it. We'll try running it one more time though. Ready? Here we go. It's a nice project. It's very rapidly moving towards 1.0. That's a good sign. Yeah, same problem. Syntax error. All right, cool. Remove the virtual environment. We will then exit out of that. Start a new terminal. Check our version in Python 3.10. Whoops. Shoot. Create a new virtual environment. Stable. So they don't really agree with their instructions here. Firstly, they're telling you to install at their user level. That you should be always putting these things in a virtual environment. And then the pre-release version, no, that's obviously not a good idea now. All right, so LangFlow is 6.9. I'm just hoping to test this ChromaDB vector. Mostly wheels downloading, so that's good. Hopefully our Chroma vector store is going to be fine. I don't know if it has an upsert method. I'm just occurring to me. A lot of dependencies, and then they set up the Pi dependencies. We'll do a pip freeze. I should probably think about committing this to GitHub in particular. Here we go, we're running. Okay, so let's just start it. Well, let's freeze it just to make sure everything looks good. Got LangFlow at 0.6.19, and then we will run that. LangFlow run. There we go. The invalid output needed to force the cache. I had to clear cache and run it. Now I've got flows running. No flows, no components defined. Let's try retrieving from it. Actually, yeah, so that would be better. All right, where would we find that? So we got custom agents, chains, loaders, embeddings, LLMs, memories, prompt retrievers. Toolkits, vector stores. How do you search? Let's see if we can find chroma. Strange. So I was absolutely using the pre-release. I just needed to refresh the browser cache. Somehow that got corrupted. But yeah, my previous flows are gone now. My collection. It's not compatible somehow with this version. Okay, so I have to run one. Ah, gosh, I'm between a rock and a hard place here. If I want to retrieve documents from a vector store, I don't know how to do that with this version of it. It just doesn't make sense. Bing, Google search what? Using answer questions, current events, and it should be a search query. Vector storage, MongoDB. That's just so weird. Are there some experimental? Wait, this won't work. This is a no-go. Dang it. All right, so. So, okay. Clear the cache. One point oh alpha 57. Running it. So it did destroy my flows. Okay. Let's just start a new one. Vector search. I want to use this chroma. I'm not. If I build it from scratch, maybe it'll just work. Something about. And then the embedding was OpenAI. And then we will use our OpenAI key. If I go to my settings, global variable, OpenAI key, this is a credential. We'll grab our, shoot. And we'll automatically apply that to open. API key saves me some connecting. Set the variable there, just calling it the same thing. Open API key, open AI key. Yeah, close enough. And now there it is. It's already connected. Okay, now let's see. Good. And then we'll need a chat output. We don't want it to hallucinate too much. Input comes from the user input. Actually, we want prompt if I recall this correctly. Type the prompt. Let's go. Use the epistle text, and we'll just call this epistle underscore text. Creating a variable. I think for XML tags, you do like that, don't you? What's the HTML tags? Is it conventional? Let's see. Yep. So I'm not alone. They broke it. I did notice that. Just didn't include that in the detail, but thanks for clarifying. Now we've expanded the scope of the issue. Cool. Good stuff. So I think we're going to have the same problem, but reinstall it was actually a bug. And I was in discussion on Hacker News. They said to use XML tags. To kind of format here. So I'm just making these named the same. And this should expose, some prompt variables, epistle text and user text. Yeah. So now we should have our prompt, which can go into the input. But this isn't going to work, unfortunately. So the epistle would be the record here, and then the user input would come directly here. So essentially how this works, we've we've created a document, massive, wow, whoa, nice. We've stored that. And DB. Yeah, so it's using these OpenAI embeddings, so we'll need to use those embeddings to also retrieve it. And what we're going to do is take the chat input when the user says something, and it's going to do a ChromaDB search for the words that are in the user input and send any results relating to those words to this prompt template as epistle text. And meanwhile, it's also sending that user input directly to the prompt as well, constructing the prompt and feeding it to OpenAI as input, at which point OpenAI then will send it to the output. So if we go to the playground, this may not work. Yep, cannot build a Chroma search, invalid input. To break it. I'm gonna have a demo for this tomorrow. I'm gonna help a friend work with this, and somehow it's been broken. I mean, I'm not trying to be, too negative or whatever. It's just kind of disappointing. I know it's alpha software. I'm following the instructions though. Yeah, it's cool, alpha release, but how do you break something like that? Isn't there some sort of a regression test for that? It's alpha 57, right? This should be getting pretty close to beta. Like I wouldn't expect something like this to change right now. Huh. Oh, now it actually says available input, chat input. Huh. but it doesn't tell me. Back to the same problem. I don't think that's enough for. Make sure the embedding input is an instance of a valid embedding. Ensure it is non-empty. Input value is non-empty. String suitable for search query. Could be. It's a. All right, so that does narrow it down. It's hello, it seems like you're interested in discussing the epistle to George Fox. How would you like? What text do you have available? Available the epistle to George Fox, specifically epistle 39, epistle 237. That's interesting to print up over here. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty good responses. But I don't think, so the problem is I don't think it's coming from the Chroma search. So there's a way to inspect these. Records output, I think, is basically what it, yeah, so I've got records here. If I got outputs, I think. Interesting. So it seems to be actually working. Yeah, everything up here. Correct. From this query. put the input there. Invalid inputs. All right, so it's definitely a bug. I can't really go on, or oh, but we did get a good trace back. Well, sort of. Let's see how good this one question mark's fine. The code base, for example. I might also be able to find it. This is a good opportunity for me to get a little bit more familiar with the LangFlow source code. I don't really know much about it, but it is open source, so that's good. Okay, so the base, LangFlow, components, pretty straightforward navigation at first glance. Outputs, so vector search, that makes sense, very well organized from my perspective. Chroma search, it's an LC vector store component. So my suspicion is that Chroma search and, what's the other one called again? Astra. LC vector store component. LC vector store component, yeah, so something happened here. And actually I wanted to do this. If we look at blame, 3 weeks ago though, huh, that's strange. Well, that's the high level. But it could be something here. It could be something that happened to the text. Building. Five days ago, getting a bit more recent record to message. Damn, this is a big one too. Dude, so good. That's amazing. 45 minutes ago, a little bit of headache, a little bit of frustration. That's a big commit. Schema to record. And this, I wouldn't be able to really follow. So now, one other thing we can check while we're here, while we're waiting, pipeline set up to build and push. Right there, 6 minutes ago. Okay, so this is all build and push, manually run. Link for different platforms. Pushing to Hugging Face. So I don't think that would be it, but let's look if there's a release, create release. 2 weeks ago was the last release. So they've got pretty good sign for a healthy project. I'm kind of evaluating this one. I really like it for a number of reasons. It's built on Python. Their devs are really responsive. I think they're starting to increase the engagement with the community outreach. They're almost at a 1.0 milestone. I'm just evaluating it against some of the other options out there. I only know of one other option, but that's open source. At least I think there are some proprietary choices, but FlowRise is the other one, and it's not built on Python, which isn't that big of a deal. That's their developers' prerogative. It's got a Node.js backend, I think. I think Python ecosystem for AI-related things, large language models, machine learning, that's where it's at. The FlowRise documentation is also less than stellar. The LangFlow docs are, there's some gaps in them, but at least, the components are defined, and but just for, we've got FlowRise. It's got a little bit about configuration and a bit on how to use it and how to contribute to the project, but it's just very thin. This is like paper thin documentation, not very much there at all to get me started, even to know what the particular components are that you're able to use. So it's got a nice user interface. I think there's a lot more videos being made about FlowRise. Maybe the user interface is documenting, self-explanatory. Which on that note, I would like to see some inline docs when I hover over a module to just look how it works. That would be kind of cool. Maybe FlowRise does that. Look at, what does this one do? How do you use it? So yeah, I'm not sure what their release process is. Let's check. Interesting. I see. Right, and the user interface has message and right here, message or text. So that's in a way self-documenting, kind of cool there. It's a feature that you can inspect the output right in line. I'm not sure that FlowRise has that, and FlowRise also was lacking this sort of the record inspector that I used here. I think this is really important too, that I can check the records in the context of the chat. Like if I take this back off here, we will search for something like Virginia or New England or Pennsylvania. I think George Fox was writing from with this chatbot. Well, we can check. So it's a bit bulky, but nonetheless, we can see the records. It would be nice if I could inspect them or scroll horizontally. From where was George Fox writing? I think save, and I think I need to restart LangFlow because sometimes this is not the first time it's gotten a little bit choked up. Something happened there and it just didn't really recover from that error. So we'll just rerun it. Very cool. Note to self, just remember to preserve my flow definitions. Get everybody up and running. We're looking like we're good to go. We built it. Try different GPT's having troubles. Gosh, this is just not my night. And we'll just try it without the search. Without the records. Just to simplify, less is more. Back. So we got a response back. George Fox, a founder of religious, many of his epistles from various locations as he traveled extensively throughout England and beyond. His epistles were often written from places where he was actively ministering or from prisons where he was frequently incarcerated due to his religious activities and beliefs. Fox's epistles were a means of communication and encouragement to the early Quaker communities, offering spiritual guidance, exhortations, and doctrinal clarifications. They reflect his inherent ministry and the challenges he faced, including imprisonment. For example, many of his letters were written from prisons such as Lancaster Castle, Launceston Jail, and Worcester Jail, among others. These epistles often addressed the conditions of his confinement and provided counsel to his followers on maintaining their faith and practices despite persecution. In summary, George Fox wrote his epistles from various locations, including places of ministry and imprisonment, reflecting his active and often tumultuous life as a religious leader. Good. Response. So that's that. Maybe while we're here, we can put a little bit of a memory. Chat memory. We can include that in the prompt. So we'll put the chat memory, text, and then session ID. Sender type, number of messages. I guess that's all you need for that one. Hello, I'll discuss the epistles of George Fox and his teachings. George Fox, the founder of Religious Society of Friends, Quakers, wrote many epistles to guide and encourage his followers. His writings often emphasize the importance of inner light, spiritual guidance, and living a life of simplicity and integrity. Is there a particular aspect of George Fox's teaching or a specific epistle you are interested in exploring? Interesting. So let's see what we've got here in the prompt now. Chat history doesn't seem to be working. Oh, you know why? Because you have to do this. Session ID. And session 1, 2, 3. Now it should, I think, work because that'll connect to the two of them. And you may need to no, probably not. My name is Briley. So George Fox, perhaps you could explore how Fox's writing might relate to your own spiritual journey or interests. Is there a particular aspect of his teaching or specific epistles that you find intriguing? What's my name? Hello, Briley. It's nice to meet you. Hey, that didn't work. Okay, so I might need to modify this. To be explicit about why we have this chat history. And let me just take a look at it. So yeah, there's the history at least. And in the chat memory, shouldn't I set a session ID here? There it is. So here I have to put this session also. All right. 1, 2, 3. So we'll run everybody, get everything wired up. Hello again, Briley. So that's a good sign. I forgot my name. Of course, Briley. Your name is Briley. 3. Nice. Yep, and we got the user and the AI chat history. Doo-doo-doo. Very cool. And let's check back in on our issue here. Docker build and push is still running. That takes a while. 22 minutes, man. Heck, that's a slow CI process. What does it have to do? 21 minutes. Wow. Pushing to Docker Hub, checking it out. LangFlow. Very cool. What time is it in their time zone? Right, so 57 is broken. Let's check LangFlow. PyP. Release history. Yeah, I'm gonna have to wrap it up today. It's 9 o'clock. Let's do a. We'll mention what we did today. Yeah, ChatGPT. Mention LangFlow just in general that we're building with. Very cool. All right, I'll take a quick break. Segment the video easily. And we will do a recap describing how we did the embeddings. I'll have to do another video. Actually, we're not using it, so let's go ahead and just remove it. Well, we're going to come back to it. So this is actually a good start. And I'll upload these to GitHub so I don't lose it again, and that way other people can try it out. Okay, I'll be right back. I'm going to just take a break and do a summary. Hello. let's take a look at what we achieved in today's session, where we create with memory, and we're on the way to also being able to retrieve information from a vector store. So LangFlow is a visual programming environment for making conversational agents using large language models and a bunch of other utilities, vector stores, conversational memory, embeddings, and basically anything you can do with Python underneath. Everything is Python. It's very simple and flexible. It's currently in alpha. There's a pre-release version that we're using, and I did encounter a bug today, which I opened on GitHub. We'll come to that in a moment, but I'll just show you the project real quick. That our end goal is to take a really long document. This is volume 2 of the Epistles of George Fox, and you can see it's just a lot of text. And I'm not sure that I would really have the time sort of or focus to read this whole thing from end to end, but I would like to learn a lot more about it and gain some wisdom and see how it applies to my life or things that are going on in my community. It was written I think in the quite a while ago. I don't know, we can find out. And it was just the epistle numbers. Okay, so here's the graph. On working with OpenAI embeddings and a local Chroma embedding database, this part is not working yet. But this whole part of the graph is currently working. And essentially what it consists of is it's going to take some input from a chat interface, and it's going to output a response. And in between that, we construct a prompt that gets fed to OpenAI. And the prompt template has a couple of variables. We'll look at the prompt template. It's got a chat history variable that's getting its input from this chat memory. And there's a session ID here, here, and here. All three of these have the same session ID. So that's how this chat memory works. Somehow it's getting the, has a document in there, and these are all writing to the memory. In the future, and that's this embedding search. The George Fox epistles are stored in a local database, a local Chroma database. I've got them extracted and stored. We'll do another session on that. It was pretty easy to do, but unfortunately this bug kind of broke the whole flow, and I'll have to just go back to the drawing board a little bit. And then the last is the user input, and that's just coming straight from my chat input. So those are fed into this template, and this you can write any prompt you want. You just kind of give the agent some instructions. You are interested in discussing the epistles of George Fox. Use the epistle text to provide insight based on user input. If the topic strays too far from the life and teaching of George Fox, gently guide the conversation back to the desired focus. Use this chat history to remember important details about the conversation for later retrieval. So here I've got the phrase chat history. I'm using kind of XML tags. And then this is a variable. And when you put these variables in curly braces, they become available on the block, on the component here. So that's how these fields became available. And for consistency, I've got epistle text. So in this, the large language models are pretty good at parsing text, and XML. I was participating in a Hacker News discussion that said that you might get better results delineating the prompt using XML tags than, for example, JSON. So that makes sense to me. It's sort of more blob-like text that they're used to parsing and iterating over, and just being consistent with names of things. So we got user input. I mentioned that here, threading together the metadata and the prompt. So basically what we've done. So here's an example. So a nice thing about LangFlow, it lets you inspect the output. And so it took that template, and now within our chat history, we can see that I've actually been discussing with it a little bit. So I'm the user, and then the AI has responded. I've given it my name, and somehow when you restart this session, it'll kind of repeat itself. Sometimes it's a bit buggy, but nonetheless, it's got the history and the epistle text, which again is going to come from a vector store. So there'll be more text here. And then I was just seeing if it had the memory, if it was able to respond. And, you know, hello again, Briley. So it recognized that I had been back when I told it my name again. And then it did give me a response. Of course, Briley, your name is Briley. Now, is there a particular aspect of George Fox's epistle or his teachings that you would like to explore further? For example, we could discuss his views on inner light, his guidance on community living, or any other topic that interests you. So really cool. It's on point. It's staying on topic. It's guiding me back to topic, even though I'm just testing out the memory and things like that. So overall, it's been a pretty good session. And I just want to highlight a couple of things that are, I think, above and beyond the user experience and things. One is the project is written in Python. It's fully open source. You can just dig right into all these modules. You can see how they work. You can modify them. You can go to the source on GitHub. I did encounter a bug with this Chroma search where the chat input that outputs a message or text, it's supposed to be sent here to the input, but there was recent change and it stopped taking input, even though it says that it should take a chat input. It's not working. And the latest pre-release of LangFlow released 6 hours ago somehow had a regression that, and they just wait, that's 57. No, they're going to fix this a moment ago. Sorry, 57, Alpha 57. So I encountered this bug. I reported the bug about an hour ago, and at that point the inputs weren't even showing up. So I'm not sure what changed. They have this bot that's trying to help a little bit, but it didn't help in this case. But nonetheless, this one of the core developers here, the CTO, in fact, responded like within a half hour. So they're in their, it's their time zone, daytime, Friday, and they said, yeah, we're going to try to get this fixed. Another person noticed that it was not only the sort of the what's it called, Chroma database, but also this Astra database. There's multiple vector stores that it supports, which is really cool. It gives you kind of like options, and it lets you have the freedom to define where did our vector stores go? How you build your graphs, what services you integrate into them. You can do price comparisons, and your whole graph can, you can swap out a vector store for another vector store. You can swap out different agents, embedding models. Let's see, where's the different large language models from Grok, which is an up and coming one with really fast responses. Anything running on Hugging Face, and you can also run your own local. There's Mistral AI here, Olama, of course OpenAI, and so you can have multiple of these in a graph. It's very powerful. So I'm just scratching the surface here. So I want to kind of give an overview of how to build a chat with memory, how we achieved that today, and sort of set the stage for what we're going to work on. There's better tutorials for building chat with memory, so I know this isn't a unique video, but we're going to go deeper into it. And I'm not necessarily writing tutorials, but summaries of the process of developing the ideas that I'm having with regards to the capabilities of LangFlow. Really great project, active community, really friendly core maintainers, and from a software engineering perspective, I think they're going pretty good. I'm surprised that this bug slipped through. It seems like a regression that would have maybe could have maybe been caught in a unit test or an integration test, something. And they don't have much here showing coverage, so I think they're going to have to work on some automated testing getting that in place, which probably would have prevented this bug. Nonetheless, it's a cool project. So yeah, thanks for stopping by. I hope you're doing well. Have a great day.